Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're the show that takes complex sources and turns them into clear, compelling stories, basically giving you a shortcut to being really well informed.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, we're diving into the hidden history of a place. Well, its name isn't really on official maps anymore, but its stories deeply shaped a really vibrant part of modern Tokyo.
That's right. We're talking about the former Kōhoku. It's in today's Adachi Ward. And the name itself, north of the river, tells you straight away about its connection to waterways.
Kōhoku.
Yeah, it was an administrative village from 1889 to 1932. Then it got absorbed into Tokyo City. But its spirit, its history and culture, that definitely lives on.
Okay, so our mission for you, our listener, is to kind of peel back the layers on this lost village. We've got 5 really fascinating historical stories lined up.
And crucially, we'll link each one to actual places, sort of hidden gems that you can visit today, places that really bring these stories to life.
Exactly. Think of it as your personal invitation across time. Let's uncover the unseen history of Tokyo's Kōhoku.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with something beautiful. Imagine a part of Tokyo that once had maybe one of the most magnificent cherry blossom displays ever. So vibrant, they called it 5-colored sakura.
Yeah, the Goshikizakura. But what's really interesting here is this wasn't just luck, a natural wonder appearing. It was a planned thing, a big dream, really.
A dream.
Initiated by Shimizu Kengo. He later became Kōhoku first village chief. Back in 1886, local residents, they all chipped in, basically, invested together.
Wow.
And they planted 3,225 cherry trees. Get this, 78 different varieties, along a nearly 6-kilometer stretch of the old Arakawa embankment.
That's incredible. 78 varieties.
78. And this spot, the Goshikizakura, became huge, super popular. Even the imperial family visited. Crown Prince Hirohito, who became Emperor Showa, he came in 1910.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting, connecting beyond Japan. These weren't just local beauties, right? They went international.
They did indeed. Became ambassadors. In 1910, 1911, saplings from these very trees were chosen, grafted onto American rootstock, which is important, and shipped off to Washington, D.C.
No way! So these are the trees.
They formed the foundation, the original stock for those iconic cherry blossoms we see around the tidal basin by the Potomac River today.
That is amazing. A literal diplomatic bouquet.
Absolutely. But, like many stories, there's a sadder side, too. The original trees back in Kōhoku, they were largely destroyed.
Oh no, how?
Well, river engineering projects, changing the embankment, and also growing industrial pollution took their toll. It really raises that question, how do communities deal with losing heritage like that?
Right, how do you bring it back?
And they did try. There was the Sakura Homecoming Project in the 1980s. Descendants of those DC trees were actually brought back to Japan. Exactly. Including one Someyoshino tree donated by First Lady Nancy Reagan in '82. It's even called the Reagan Sakura. It's a great example of cultural repatriation restoring a local wound.
So if you want to experience this today,
you can. Head to Goshikizakura Park in Adachi Ward. You'll find the Sakura planting record monument there, inscribed by Shimizu Kengo himself.
A tangible link?
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder of that whole cycle, nature, community spirit, diplomacy, loss, and then, thankfully, rebirth.
Okay, from that grand scale, let's shift focus. A more intimate story, but just as profound, I think. This one involves a tragic princess and a pilgrimage.
Yes, local histories are so often shaped by these really poignant legends. The Adachi Hime legend is a classic example.
Tell us about her.
It's the story of a daughter from a powerful local family. Sadly, after conflict with her mother-in-law, she was heartbroken and ended her life in the Arakawa River. A real tragedy.
Oh, that's terrible.
And to comfort her spirit, the famous monk Yuki carved 6 Amitabha Buddha statues. He used sacred wood, apparently sourced all the way from Kumano. It speaks to that deep need for spiritual solace in the community.
And these statues, they weren't just memorials, were they? They sparked something bigger.
They really did. They gave rise to the 6 Amitabha pilgrimage, or Roku Amida Muda. It became hugely important, especially for women, during the Edo period.
Why specifically for women?
Well, they'd make the pilgrimage not just to pray for Princess Adachi, but also, seeking happiness in their own lives, marriage, family. Maybe they saw something of their own struggles in her story. It seems like it was a very personal, resonant journey for them.
That makes sense.
And here's a fascinating little detail. After Gyoki carved the main 6 statues, there was some wood left over.
Okay.
So, respecting the sacredness of the material, he used these wooden remnants, kyo, in Japanese to carve another Amitabha Buddha statue.
Ah, so that's where the name comes from.
Exactly. This statue was enshrined at Seianji Temple in Adachi's Wugi area. And locally, people affectionately call it Kyoji, or Kyosan, literally, leftover wood temple.
Leftover wood temple, I like that.
And that statue, the wooden Amitabha Nyorai, it's a registered Tokyo cultural property. The temple itself is even believed by some to be Princess Adachi's actual grave.
So for listeners wanting to explore this hidden gem,
Definitely visit Seianji Temple. And another key stop on that pilgrimage route is Meiji Temple, also the Kōhoku area.
right.
Its main Amitabha statue is also linked to mourning Princess Adachi. And it was actually Adachi Ward's first tangible cultural property, designated back in 1982. It's a journey that really lets you connect with ancient beliefs and that timeless human search for peace.
Okay, rivers. We talked about their connection early on. They give life, but they also bring challenges, huge challenges sometimes.
Immense challenges. And our next story is about how a massive engineering project literally reshaped a Kokomura and really tested the people's resilience.
This relates to flooding, right?
Yes. It raises that critical question. How do societies react when nature forces radical change? The huge Tokyo flood of 1910 Meiji 43 was the biggest on the Arakawa since the Meiji era began. It was devastating.
So the government had to act.
They did. They launched the incredibly ambitious Arakawa Floodway project, basically carving a whole new, straight, artificial river channel to try and prevent future chronic flooding.
A massive undertaking.
Monumental. It took nearly 20 years, from 1911 to 1930, and it meant displacing over 1,300 households. It fundamentally changed the landscape and, of course, the lives of everyone along the river.
Just imagine that. Your home, your community literally sliced in two by a new river. That's what happened in parts of Kokomura.
Exactly. Southwestern Kōhoku areas like Shinden, Miyagi, Odai. The completed Arakawa Floodway in 1930 effectively split the village's territory. Lands that were connected were suddenly separated. The disruption must have been, well, immense.
Unimaginable today, almost.
But what's truly remarkable isn't just the scale of the displacement, it's the community's response. How they held on to their identity.
How so?
Well, take Miyagi Village. 49 out of 70 households had to move. But they didn't just leave everything behind. They carefully, consciously relocated 7 precious Koshin data towers.
Koshin 2. What are those exactly?
They're stone monuments. They represent local folk beliefs, deities, sort of community protectors. They moved these 7 towers from their original spots to their new home in the Odai area.
So they physically carried their spiritual heritage with them.
Precisely. It was a deliberate act to preserve their roots, their identity, even as their physical world was being totally changed.
That's powerful. And can you still see these today?
Yes. These Odai no Nanagoshin, the 7 Koshin of Odai, they're now a registered cultural property of Adachi Ward. You can find them near the new Arakawa riverbank in Odai Tucombe.
Wow.
They just stand there, silent witnesses to that community's determination. Real testament to the human spirit facing massive change.
Okay, every community needs a focal point, right? A spiritual center. For Kohokumura, that was the Kōhoku Hikawa Shrine.
That's right. And if we look at the history, the shrine's original location was in what was called Numata Village.
Numata, meaning?
Marshland Village, which tells you a lot about the ancient landscape there, wet, marshy.
Makes sense.
And the main deity of the Hikawa faith, Suzuno no Mikoto, is often linked with land development, taming nature, controlling water. So it strongly suggests the shrine's founding was tied right into those early settlers trying to make the land livable.
So it wasn't just a place of worship, it was a symbol of like building their community, overcoming the environment.
Exactly. And then when those 9 villages merged in 1889 to form Kōhokumura, this shrine, because it was already so old and respected, it naturally became the Tsuchinju.
The Tsuchinju.
Yeah, the general guardian shrine for the whole new village, the spiritual anchor uniting everyone.
And its importance didn't fade when Kōhokumura disappeared as an administrative unit.
Not at all. In fact, its influence kind of grew. Today, it's still the main center of faith for the whole Kōhoku area. Plus, it acts as the head shrine, the Hanmusha, for 17 other Hikawa shrines in western Adachi Ward.
17, wow.
Yeah. And here's something interesting. It also has a rare female honorary chief priest. So you see this blend of ancient tradition and a modern touch.
That is interesting. So if you visit
Kōhoku Hikawa Shrine today, look for the historic stone hand-washing basin, the Chosubachi. It dates all the way back to 1699.
1699.
Yeah, imagine the history it's seen. And right across the street is Jifukuji Temple. Visiting both gives you a real sense of that historical mixing of Shinto and Buddhism known as Shinbutsu Shugo. You really feel the deep roots of the community's faith there.
Okay, our final story. Sometimes history isn't in the big monuments, but in like little unexpected corners. You found a subtle royal connection in Kohokumura.
We did. It makes you think, doesn't it? How do ordinary spots suddenly gain this sort of historical weight? Well, back in 1910, Meiji 43, again, the young Crown Prince Hirohito, the future Emperor Showa.
The same visit you mentioned earlier for the cherry blossoms.
Exactly. He came to see the famous five-colored cherry blossoms along the Arakawa embankment. And the records show he crossed a particular small bridge to get to the best viewing spot on the riverbank.
Okay, just a small bridge.
Just a small bridge. The Kuminoki Bridge, apparently locals had a nickname for it, Meganabashi.
Meganabashi. Spectacles Bridge.
That's the one. Because its arched shape reflected in the water below, making it look like a pair of glasses.
That's quite charming, and the bridge is still there.
That's the remarkable part. Yes. Over a century later, when the area was redeveloped into the Kuminoki Plaza in 2013, they carefully kept the bridge, preserved it.
That's great they saved it.
And even more, during that redevelopment, they discovered an old, rare red water gate right nearby the Kuminoki Erie, an old sluice gate, and they preserved that too, in its original state. A little pocket of history unearthed.
So for you listening, this is a perfect hidden gem, right?
Absolutely.
You can go to Kuminoki Plaza, stand on the exact bridge that a future emperor crossed. It's this quiet, subtle link, but it connects this local spot to Japan's bigger story. Just reminds you, history can be anywhere.
Under your feet sometimes.
Exactly. So we've traveled through time today, haven't we? Traced this really fascinating history of Tokyo's former Kōhokumura in Adachi Ward.
Yeah, from the amazing cherry blossoms and that sad story of Princess Adachi.
To the huge changes from the Arakawa Floodway, the Hikawa Shrine being that constant anchor.
And even those imperial footsteps on Kuminoki Bridge, it really has been a deep dive.
It has.
And stepping back, you really see how tied human lives are to their environment, don't you? Especially rivers. And how communities keep their identity alive through legends, landmarks, just sheer grit, really.
Yeah. Resilience is a big theme.
And these aren't just, dusty facts in a book. They feel like living stories. Especially now, you can easily get there with things like the Nippori Tenori liner.
Right. The deep dive is all about helping you build that mental map of knowledge. We really hope this exploration of Kōhokumura maybe inspires you to look a bit closer at the places around you.
Yeah, whether it's an old bridge or just a local park or that shrine down the street, every place has layers.
So true.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to ponder. In your own neighborhood, right where you live, what unseen histories, what hidden stories or overlooked spots might be quietly sitting there, shaping the landscape you walk every single day? What's beneath the surface?